Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 51. Almost a year of Audionautic. We've got something special planned for next week for that. This is our weekly music production, technology, and marketing podcast. And today we are going to be demoing some very cool iOS apps for sound design. And then we'll talk some interesting new playlist updates from Bandcamp, as well as a Spotify social media feature. I don't know, Curtis can elaborate better on that, but that's what it sounds like. And then, of course, what's an episode of ADSN without gear news? My name is Sunwarper, and with me today is Curtis. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, it's Wednesday. We're back. Yeah, it's been mental. I like every week. It's like I shut my eyes and it's Thursday morning, and then I open them again and it's Wednesday evening, and it's like, hey, okay, cool.
Yeah, I get you, man. It comes quick.
Yeah, very much so, but in a good way. Totally. Yeah, I've been good. It's been busy. Hello to everyone in the chat. Love to see it. It's been alive. People sharing what they've been listening to. Frequency Control Center. They've been on the new Orbital album. I need to listen to that. It's always interesting. What have you been listening to, man?
Apparently I was living under a rock. I've been listening to MF Doom lately.
Okay.
Yeah, I was, me getting into like all the SP stuff. I was checking it out. Eon says in the chat that he doesn't have video. Is it just me? Let us know, chat, if you guys can see us, because everything on my end looks good. And yeah, so just let us know. But welcome everyone in the chat. Let us know what you've been up to this week as well. Have you guys been working on any music? What are you guys listening to?
Yeah, let us know. So yeah, that's what you've been listening to. What have you been up to?
Man, I had a busy week. I got a bunch of stuff done. I've had to finish some mixes and masters. Been mastering for some other people on the label soon. That upcoming soon, I should say. And then I did my first DAWless live stream on Thursday, which was a ton of fun. Lots of people popped up in the chat. It was great to kind of dialogue while I was working on the song, like, oh, should I do this or should I do that? And kind of let the chat run where the song goes. It was a really interesting way of doing it. Had a lot of fun. So yeah, that I have to fix some things. Like, I don't like the camera I'm using, but I'm kind of stuck with it. And I saw something that you can get. It's like an $8 app that you can use your phone's camera as the live stream. If you connect like lightning from the iPhone to your computer, you can use, because this has 4K camera. So that's what I'm looking into now. And then my microphone was a little far away, so when the audio started playing, it was like very loud compared to my mic. Well, you were there. I'm sure you can attest. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, you could probably tell me better, but for me, it was fun.
Yeah, no, it was good fun. It was nice to see how you kind of pick everything together. I watched it with Juan, J-Bo.
Nice, yeah.
Jamming out, and we had you up on the big screen, and it was lovely to see it all kind of come together. I think the video, again, it's that very retro side of things, which was quite nice.
It's the camera I've got, man.
I think it was like, again, we come back into this kind of like whole YouTube thing where everything must be polished and prim and proper. And I
hate that grain on it. It's so like grainy, and the color grading is so wonky. I don't like, it's so gray. Everything gets like this gray wash, but it's fine. I mean, it works. And one of the things that I am learning from it, and also just from doing these for a year, is that nothing has to be perfect. It's live. That's part of it, is that things go wrong, or that things can go wrong, and you just kind of work with it and have fun with it in that way. And I'm starting to really like that about music live streaming.
Yeah, entirely. As a minor segue slightly from that, talking of going live and things going wrong, the chat is very clued in. There is no Eon Lake this week, which we are very sad to have. Internet issues. Yes, my internet service is down.
Yeah.
Eon Lake
I was hoping to get like a third chat box and put... Eon Lake has a plushie of his head, and I really wanted to get that, or like a cardboard cutout. Would have been really nice, but alas... He can't be here, but he's in the chat, so he's still with us, not just in spirit. I mean, he's actually with us in the chat. So, it'll be all right. But we've got a lot planned today. But first, I want to hear, Curtis, what have you been up to?
I've been editing. I've been editing, as well as we've been doing some handy work around the house, and so it's been like stripping back paint. So the majority of the time that I've been at the desk doing stuff for this and for Curtis, I've been mainly editing. I did your music. I did your music for Imagine Landscape stuff, which is all frivolous and up in the air. We don't really know what's going on there, but it's going to be very interesting.
Something's going on.
Exactly, something's going in. When do we have to tune in for that? When might we have to tune in for that?
24/2/23.
24/2/23.
Friday. That's exactly what everything's pointing to.
Oh yeah, and just some artwork that I've had some commissions for, which has been mainly my thing. So it's been editing, animation, digital art, that stuff. It's been nice. I haven't had one of those in a while, so it's been nice to kind of the live set. I've been dabbling with the live streaming also, and just kind of casually. So it's nice just to have it's a different hat. It's a different brain. It's
very different.
Very different, yeah.
I remember when mine started, my brain just kind of stopped, and I was trying to talk, and then I had an idea of what I wanted to play, like a chord progression, and I didn't think to translate it to how the circuit works, and so I was just like, I felt like time stopped, and I was just like fumbling with these little pads on the circuit, but it all worked. But I was like, oh my god,
it's been really fun when I have been playing in that regard, like as you say, like trying to get your brain to work. Like I've been trying this thing where I hit record, and I'd start with the Ultranova, just because of like I can play without seeing it, you know.
Yeah.
And I just kind of close my eyes and just kind of whack my hands on the keyboard and see what comes out.
That's the way to do it.
Like that. And then because I'm recording, it has to be that. So I've got to work with that, as opposed to like, you know, carefully kind of put in what a chord might be and where I'm going to go and if it's diminished or whatever. Yeah. I'm just going to bang. So that's quite fun in that regard.
What happens, right?
Exactly. But again, we'd like to know what you guys in the chat have been up to, listening to tracks, playing around. We're talking later on today about live streaming and live setups, so be curious to know if you've got any comments or thoughts about that at all. There's a couple of guys in here who have been gearing up for playing live, so we'd like to know your thoughts and where you're at with that.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be going through what we're kind of setting up both for our live streams and live sets to a degree. Wish Ian Lake was here, but he can talk in the chat when we get there, because he's doing a live set. So it'll be interesting to see the difference between our live stream setups and the set setups. But yeah.
Completely. That is at the end of the show. We've got a lot to go through from that. As you said, you've wonderfully introduced it. So, Sunwarper, what's going on in the whole world of iOS apps and the news?
Yeah, so I was talking with iOS developer who does some really cool apps. He goes by We Name You Apps. Alex is his name. And he sent over a few codes for some very interesting apps. He sent me a few. I've only so far gotten to use the sine wave app called Sinusidu, and then this really cool granular looper and sampler called Soundfruze. And this thing's crazy. So I did a demo of both. The first demo that we'll play is from Soundfruze, and basically I reamp the sounds coming out of my speakers into the iPad and then send it into my SP and do all this like chopping and stuff like that. And then we'll talk about the sine wave app. The sine wave app video is from my YouTube channel because I did it a couple weeks ago, but I wanted to do that justice as well because there's some really cool stuff. So do you want to get into it?
Yeah. Before we do, Eon Lake pops in. I've been doing some rehearsal stuff, all in the box with controllers at the moment for portability.
Nice.
It's an interesting way of going there.
And David is also in the chat. How is it going, David? Let us know what you've been up to, and if you want to share what music you've been listening to. We're kind of all talking what we've been up to lately. It's good to hear. But shall we check out this Soundfruze?
Yeah. Hi, David. Let's go to it.
All right, here we go. Hey friends, Sunwarper here. Today we are checking out Soundfruze from We Name You Apps, and this is their live sampler and looper, and you can do some really cool granular effects with it. I'm using the iPad's microphone, and it's taking all this information in, and then you can do some crazy stuff with it. So somehow that's me talking. What I think we're gonna do is sample a few sounds from here, my SP, and then resample that sound back in. So the way I've got the setup running, I'm just capturing audio from the iPad's microphone, and it's going to capture the SP. So I want to do that because I kind of want to get some air to it. Basically reamp the sounds from the SP into the iPad with a microphone. Just adds a little more air and stuff like that. So let's find a sound we like. This is an old project. Okay, I'm gonna sample that in. I really like that sound. So let's put that right. Okay, so now what we can do, let's move this, put it over here. So let's just chop that up. We'll just put those in, assign to pad. Okay, so let's figure out the tempo of that. Nice, okay, so we've got some massive drums now. All right, so there's a ton you can do with it. I just wanted to do some really cool sound design. Let us know either in the live chat or in the comments if you're watching this back, if you want us to delve more into sound design with this, especially with synths or pianos or samples or something like this. There's a ton you can do with it. All of the effects that are thrown in there make for some really cool sound design. I highly recommend checking it out, and they've got some other cool apps. We're also right now going to take a look at Sinusidu, which is their sine wave app, and it's a ton of fun, so let's go check that out. Hey friends, Sunwarper here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at how to use sine waves from an iOS app and some effects from the SP404 to create lush drones and soundscapes that work great for ambient music, but they're also great as a sample to build a beat from. Today, I'm using Sinusidu from We Name You Apps, who were kind enough to send over a code to check it out. So sine waves may seem very basic. Because of how basic they are, they can be shaped into a ton of different sounds using effects to color them. And so that's what I want to explore today. We'll make some latch sounds because this is awesome. You can actually hold sounds on this. And then we'll also resample some sounds into the SP and we'll go from there. So that's an easy way to create lush soundscapes, whether you want to use them for ambient drones or to resample in a DAW-less setup or even in your DAW. Have you tried iOS apps for music making? I've been getting really into it. If you've seen any of the recent videos on my channel, and it's an awesome way to kind of get more flexibility in a DAW-less setup or just in a portable setup. Let me know in the comments if you've tried any iOS apps and what they were. Okay, good. All right, sorry. We'll talk in 1 sec. I'm just giving Curtis the link so we can post it at the bottom. But Curtis, let us know, what did you think about Soundfrews and Sinus Edu?
I think they're really interesting, really intuitive, very different to what personally I would use in my setup, which is, I think, kind of the point. It looks like you can, especially if you're into your sampling, to be able to make something very, very quickly. And then we're always talking about making a sample your own and playing around with it. That looks like a very intuitive way of doing so.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It takes a little while to kind of figure out, especially with Soundfrews, how to do everything. I mean, I barely scratched the surface making that drum sound, so there's a lot more you can do with it. But I think between that and then messing with my voice at the start, it's kind of a good example of like some of the sonic capabilities of it. And then with Sinus Edu, it seems very simple because it's just sine waves and it's got each note on the two keyboards, which is cool. You get two keyboards rather than one. has like a ring modulator on the bottom, so that's individual to that note, not like to the chord and not to that keyboard, but to that note. So it's really crazy the weird sounds you can get, and if you sample it into something to color it, you can get some crazy stuff. Eon Lake in the chat says, very quick way to establish mood. I like that aspect a lot. Yeah, definitely. I was thinking too, one of the cool things for Soundfrews would be just to make background sounds. Like to sample in just random noises or something and then change the pitch to get these really weird, I guess like techno rumbles or something for lack of a better word, but just like background noises. Like we've talked before with, I think Jupes mentioned it, about just like recording random sounds to put under like bird noise and stuff like that, bird song. This, you could just get these weird sounds that you can control the sample size and duration and things like that. Curtis, I sent you the link for the video. Sorry, the text got cut off. It was just the way we stream. It cut that bit off. So if you want to see the Sinusidu video with all the text and how I was doing stuff, it'll be in the chat. And then when the video ends, I'll put it in the description.
Oh, you literally sent it to my Twitter. Yeah, I see. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Cool. All right. It shows you how much often I.
While he's doing that, a couple things. Sinusidu is $4 on the App Store. Soundfrews is, I believe, it's $6.99, $7, and he also offers a bundle that comes with Sinusidu, Soundfrews, and 3 other apps that I haven't used yet for $14.99, and I guess the normal price would be $20.95 if you bought them all separately. So we did put a link to Soundfrews in the chat, and you can then check out all the other ones from there.
It's amazing when you think the democratization of music production gets to a degree, and then it just goes one step further with all these iOS apps coming in really cheap, very intuitive, and just going, like I say, a bundle for $15. That's
speaking of, Eon Lake said bundle it is. Yeah. I'd be curious to hear if anybody is looking at grabbing these and maybe what they're thinking of using them for, especially Soundfrews. If anybody's looking into grabbing that, there's so much you could do with that. I'd be curious if anyone's thinking of ways outside of, like I said, I just scratched the surface with some of it, but just the sound design stuff, that lo-fi setting was so cool.
We'd love to know what you guys, if you get it, grab it, and what you play with it. Head over to our Discord, put it there. It'd be a great way to see what you're doing.
And just a quick disclaimer: Alex did send them over, but he had no say in anything we're talking about it. We just appreciative of him sending it and letting us check it out, and we just wanted to spread the word of a really cool app or apps that you should check out or can check out.
Spread the love.
Yeah.
It's nice to see. So we'd love to see it, and we thank you for joining us and everything like that. And if you like what you've just seen there, and you want to see more of it, spread the word and show more people or like-minded people or people you think will get a kick out of weird iOS apps and weird iOS or weird music production channels such as ours.
And if you really want to help, you can leave a like on the video because it helps a ton with the algorithm to push the live streams and things like that. I noticed with live streams, they tend to have a very short shelf life, like afterwards. I noticed it on my own, and then sometimes with these and things like that. It's interesting compared to a normal video that grows as it goes. Live streams seem to get like a big hit at the start and like the day or two after, and then kind of taper off. It's interesting. I think that's something we can talk about in a marketing segment, the different formats of algorithmic pushes with different types of videos on YouTube. It's very interesting.
Completely. I mean, like, it makes sense in a way. Like, what's hit live today becomes past tense tomorrow. But some of our clips are from live, and that's kind of interesting in its own right.
Yeah, it's a way to kind of get a second life on something, right?
Exactly. Very much so. So this show is brought to us by our patrons. A couple of you are in the chat, and we love you for it. We've got Bendu's there, Hydra Fighter. We've got Ace of Strike David. We've got also Shady Ridge in there as well, which is lovely to see. And another patron is releasing on Shady Ridge on the 24th, which is a Friday. Willibrandt has got that coming out as well, which is going to be amazing. So we thank you. And if you like what you do here, or like what we do, consider becoming a patron. Pledges start at $2. And there's a lot of back access. We've got communities in Twitter and on Discord where we like to share what we're up to and it's a little growing community within a community, and it's lovely.
Yeah, and special shout out to our Audionaut engineer, McKinleyA.
Very much so. What's next, Sunwarper?
Well, we've got a lot of news. What do you and what does the chat want to talk first? Gear news or some interesting things with Bandcamp and Spotify? So streaming / music release news, I guess. I don't know.
And yeah, so there's Bandcamp. There's another free app which we found. And yes, the latest coming out of Spotify. If you want to let us know, we can go there. Eon Lake says, yes, he wants to hear the Willowbrant release. And Shady Ridge is there in there as well. Should we go ahead with Bandcamp?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go with that. Or, okay, let's do that. Let's go with that. So.
Oh, Eon Lake says gear, though.
Well, Democracy had it, so let's go with the gear. So
since Eon Lake's not here, we'll go with that. He also said please. He was very nice about it, so I think we have to.
We have to. So this is really cool. We found this. We're talking of iOS apps. We have this little FM synthesizer, which is a free synth for Mac and Windows. So 3 operator synth that includes control for multi-mode and filter. Has lots of built-in effects such as distortion, delay, and reverb, as well as a chord mode, which is really nice, really quick way. A little inspiration machine. And if you listen to the sound that we've got some very, should we say, retro tones?
Sure. I don't know. Let's check it out.
I'll play it. We can have a look. I love the way that the visualizer comes up there.
That's pretty cool, like an oscilloscope or something.
Like 90s house techno. I'll go for one more. Is there one more?
There should be. Looks like there's like 30 seconds. Well, there you go.
There you go. That's a one way to use it. Very nicely done. There you go. Stick 2 together. There you go. We'll go with that. Yeah.
Very cool.
That is, yeah. It's very free as well. That's very cool.
very free. Okay.
Yeah. You can get it. It's a link on the website, which I'll put in the chat now. Completely free. Great way thing. It's on both Mac and Windows. Very kind of old school sounds. A little inspiration box. If you're looking for something, I nearly put it in your chat. If you're looking for something, if you're looking for something different, a little bit new, and you're a bit strapped for cash, then yeah, go for the MS2.
Yeah, even Eon like agrees. He said good sounds, but we did, I think, upset David. He cast a vote for streaming, and then he was very disappointed that Eon Lake took the initiative first and said to do gear.
Well, let's turn that phone upside down. Sorry, David. Let's turn that around. Let's go straight across then to Spotify. Spotify, it's really interesting. This came through. Spotify is launching. It looks like, and this is a question page here, but I've already seen it and I believe it's happening. There's a vertical swipe function coming in on Spotify. This is Spotify going social, I suppose you could say. They've been edging towards the idea of a social media site for a while, snailing, as one might say, and this is the next stage. Basically, they're taking the canvases that you have on your tracks when you release on Spotify, and they will be played in the discovery section of, well, what I believe will be a new section for Spotify. And you can listen to a song, you can play the song, the canvas will play, and then you move on to the next one. You can just swipe up and you go to the next one here. I saw this on my Spotify at the beginning of the year, and then it disappeared. So I feel like they were trying.
You're one of the beta testers or something,
or
a glitch.
To myself.
Yeah, or a glitch. Yeah.
Turns out they're like, here, Curtis, have that.
Get a sneak preview.
Yeah, exactly.
Just for Audionautic, an Audionautic exclusive. But you took no proof of it, so we have no evidence. So
exactly,
way to go, Curtis.
Who would have known that on the 22nd of February then that would become true? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's really so basically, yeah. So it's a flip up in the same way that you have like a Discover Weekly playlist. I suppose it's like a derivative of that. My understanding of it, as far as I could see, is they just want to keep you on the screen. They just want to keep you on Spotify.
Oh, I'm sure. It's just like TikTok. And what Instagram was trying to do before they got all that flack for their full page reels. Remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about it pretty much every episode. But yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if it's also going to be tied to their marquee advertising. Because you can do those full page. Let me know, chat, if you guys have seen this. But sometimes when you open Spotify, a full page ad, so to speak, pops up saying like new release from this artist, like someone you follow. It's usually someone you follow or listen to frequently or like, but it's like a full page thing that takes up, that's their marquee advertising. And of course, smaller artists can't use it. You have to have, I think, like 15,000 streams a month or something just to do it. But then you have to pay them. Obviously, it's an advertising thing. But I wonder if this is going to translate into that, or if this is where they're going. But obviously, like you said, it's to keep people engaged and on the platform, same as TikTok, same as Instagram. That's what they're going for. We've got some chat, some interesting chat. We got Frequency Control Center about something better, about gear, said that he downloaded. We'll have a play with that later. Eon Lake then back on the Spotify topic says, oh great, Spotify are going to reinvent social media. So here for that. Yeah, I'm sure we all are. And then Monochrome Echo dropping in. Hey, what's up, Monochrome? He says, sounds like music Tinder. Yeah, I think it's swipe up and down rather than left, right. But, you know, the same.
Yeah, semantics.
I guess they're trying to reinvent Tinder for music, you know. Frequency Control Center says, another thing that's no help for artists. I don't necessarily agree with that because, like, I was just looking at your story, Curtis. You played some artist, or you put a artist Spotify up and it had the canvas. And I was just like staring at this canvas because it was so interesting. I said, I need to go listen to this song. And so I opened it and saved it for later because I had to go live. So to some degree, striking visual aspects, which a lot of our listeners do with their music and canvases and videos and things like that, it might have a little bit of play there. It might. And FCC also says just more for the money machine. That I do agree with.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, so you've got that swipe feature. I think that'd be really good, really interactive in a way. Again, it's that beauty of, you get a bit mesmerized by the Canva. Like the canvases are really nice and they're really good for what they do. There's also, I feel, is the underutilized widescreen version that they put on TV screens.
Yeah.
That could be really interesting because then you've got the whole kind of visual aspect, again, another level to the visual aspect of your.
And don't forget their podcasts have video. Our podcast on Spotify is full widescreen video, which if you'd like to help, maybe give a rating over there. The link's in the description. Or just check it out if you listen to podcasts over there.
Yeah. I mean, we've been saying for years, like when me and my friends were sitting around having a bit of a session, listening to music, a lot of the underground music and a lot of the music you listen to, it's just the audio aspect when really a real, you know, if you're in a visual setting, you need that visual side of things. So that can never be a bad thing, you know. And if that turns into streams and buys on Bandcamp, even better.
Oh, well, that's a great way to talk about playlists on Bandcamp. Now, it's not what you think. This news came up real quick right before the show. I saw that Bandcamp posted it on Instagram, and I was like, we've got to talk about it. I couldn't find it on their website. I just saw it on their Instagram, but they give a description of it. So do you want to share that Instagram, and then we'll talk about it?
I like the way you found it on Instagram first, and you couldn't find it on Bandcamp. It's just an interesting one to me.
Now, I was getting ready for the show and trying to link all the videos that we were playing in this one. So I'm not saying it's not there. I just didn't see it. So what they're saying is that you can now use the Bandcamp app only on your phone, it looks like, not on desktop, to make playlists. And here's the key: from the music in your collection. Go ahead and swipe to the next one.
Click. There we go.
So they're just showing an example of what the playlist will look like. Go ahead and hit the next one. Again, when you find a song that you own, you can hit add to playlist to do it. I think there's two more. Yeah, and they're just showing like what the playlists look like when you have multiple playlists. And then the last one, they say, this is what I wanted to talk about with you and with the chat. This is just the start. More playlist features are in the works. Before we go there, though, I just want to read what they actually say. They say, you can now use the Bandcamp app to make playlists from the music in your collection. Just go to the new playlist tab on your collection and create a playlist. Start adding music from your collection to the new playlist. You can even download your playlist to take them on the go. And then they again say, this is just the start. More playlist features are in the works. Now, we've been talking ever since that Epic buyout, buy, whatever you want to call it, that there's got to be a reason Epic bought Bandcamp. And they've been pretty silent, and I think this is maybe the first of some new things coming. I'm very curious to see where it goes from there. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I think this is great. It's really cool. Bendu, I don't think they're shareable, he asked in the chat, because they keep saying your collection, and it's, from my understanding of collections as a Bandcamp listener and artist, that's things you buy or are given download codes for. So if it's not in your collection, I don't think you can share it. But they're saying there's more news to come. I still think we might be seeing a Bandcamp streaming thing in the near-ish future, but that brings up a whole other can of worms of like copyright, royalty, things like that, getting music, like distribution. It's going to be interesting. But anyways, this is good news, I think. This is really cool. I'm curious to hear your take and what you think. Is this insinuating more to come?
Yeah, I feel for sure. You know, I mean, I think Playlist is the beginning of something. Like you say, they overtook about a year and a half ago by this point now.
Yeah, well, we talked about it in an ADSN, so it's got to be about a year.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, and they're starting to roll things out. I don't know if it's because of what Hydrofighter said about it'd be cool if they'd be shareable and available to others, but also Bendu's mixtapes. I'm feeling perhaps maybe you can make a playlist with your collection and then share it with people to stream. That would be a really cool, interesting way of doing it.
The issue with the streaming comes all the whole, like, if you own, don't own, royalties, all that stuff. I mean, anyone can go to a Bandcamp page and listen to an album or artist. Yeah. So it's interesting. One thing they could do, maybe, like they already do when it's an option as an artist you can do with an album, is after 3 listens, you know, request they buy it, like pop up with a buy, and then they can't listen unless they buy it. That might be one way to A, drive more purchases, but also B, just like still give it to the public in a way. It's interesting. There's obviously a reason why, if this is the case, again, this was late news we just put on to talk about. I don't want to say for sure that it's not shareable, but it seems like from their wording that it isn't. And as more comes out, we can clarify it either in the comments or in another episode as the news unfolds. But I just really want to talk about this potential, like Eon, like saying good news, it's got potential. Bendu says, I would love to share a playlist with my mixes. Yeah, no, I get that. And Frequency Control Center, sorry, Curtis says, such a simple feature, it's crazy it's only just been added. Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing. There's got to be a reason why it's only just been added, and then why further things like public sharing isn't available.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just they will bring it out eventually. Maybe it's just a case they'll roll it out.
It might be a UI thing.
Maybe. Again, maybe also I imagine also a permissions thing. Again, buying versus
exactly. That's what I think it really comes down to. The way because anybody can post on Bandcamp. You don't have to go through a distributor. And I think as things like playlists come out, that's getting into like royalty territory and things like that. So I don't know.
I wonder if they're going to go to a form of, say, a mix between, say, Spotify and Patreon, where like you subscribe to an artist directly in the same way that you can do now. You can have them on Bank. I can't remember what it is.
Subscriptions.
Is that it's just Bandcamp subscriptions? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do that, and then that would, for example, if you subscribe to Bendu, for example, Bendu would be able to share his playlists and his mixtapes with people he subscribes to, who could then
I think it's still an issue though for the artists on it. Well, it's not like their subscription.
Well, yeah, but then I mean,
I guess they could split royalty or something, right?
Split royalty, something like that, or perhaps the idea of, you know, you can listen 3 times before you have to buy.
Yeah,
you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But these are all just our thoughts. This is nothing about what it will or won't be. As of now, from the way it looks like you can just, as a user, make playlists from your collection with songs from your collection, and then you can listen to them. You can download them to listen offline. I think it took a long time for them to even do offline download. I think that was only a recent. I'd be curious, Bandcamp listeners, let me know if you know the answer. I think it was only fairly recently that offline downloading on your phone was possible on the app. I think that was a pretty recent thing. Lastly, David says it's still cool if listeners like the feature for sure. And then Bendu says there is a third-party Bandcamp playlist thing, but it was pretty awkward when I checked it out. Yeah, maybe that's why this is going to be a slow rollout. That it might be something with the way Bandcamp was coded or something. I don't know. But they have Epic on their side now, so I mean,
this is what makes me think perhaps it's a simple case of just server space. Maybe
could be.
I think I go back to what Ian Lake when we last talked about Spotify, and what Ian Lake was saying about the amount of server space and physical manifestation of stuff that it takes to host the servers. Maybe it's a case they're working up to having the bandwidth, essentially.
It's quite possible. You would think they could do it pretty quickly with all of the Epic stuff, but maybe it's a thing of cost versus cost value, cost benefit or something in terms of what Bandcamp makes or something to that effect. But I think it's really cool news, and it just, as I mentioned when the first news of Epic buying it came out, I'm very curious to see where it all goes. I feel like there's a reason Epic bought Bandcamp and we're not seeing it. And we even said it might take a year, 2 years, 3 years. And now we're seeing some interesting new changes. So I'm just curious to see where it goes.
Yeah, entirely.
And trying to stay optimistic about it.
Ever more reason to get, if you're not on Bandcamp and you focus heavily on streamers, it's never a better time to get on Bandcamp than now, because something is happening. And there is something, and again, as you always say, Sunwarper, it's better to be everywhere. And I know that many younger artists or many people coming through releasing their first stuff are focusing on distribution via DistroKid and stuff like that. Again, now is never a better time to get on Bandcamp.
Yeah, and it's really easy to get on there. If anybody, I think most of our listeners use Bandcamp and know it, but if anybody wants us to talk about putting your music on Bandcamp, or we are also going to do a look at all the distributors and the pros and cons for 2023 in the near future. But we can throw that in. Just let us know in the comments or in the chat, and we can talk about it. But yeah, there are a lot of people that don't put their music on Bandcamp, and it's interesting to not put it there, because that's like a direct way to support an artist.
Very much so. Very much so. That is, we got one more piece of news. It's kind of half news, half marketing, I suppose. Which I suppose is a nice little blend and a nice little segue into everything else. So This week we've got a bit of a blendy marketing.
Everything's been blended in marketing and whatnot.
It's an interesting one. Lots of announcements and lots of things coming through. So in our marketing segment, you might say.
That sounds like, what was that show? Oh man, I'm drawing a blank. Pinky and the Brain, Narf.
Pinky and the Brain, yeah. What are we gonna well, in the name of taking over the world, Instagram has introduced broadcast channels because they're going to try and edge out a bit of YouTube, it looks like. They're introducing one-way broadcast channels from people who can subscribe or follow in a similar vein to everyone else. People you can follow, and you can send information directly. You can stay up to date. So you can send texts, you can send photos, voice notes, etc., polls, and basically cut out the middleman. You can have or seemingly direct contact with an artist in its own right. For now, they are only one way, as in the artist can hit the subscribers and they can interact, but they can't send stuff back. And eventually, it looks like they'll be either open or subscription only.
Can you just zoom in on that a little bit, if you can?
Yeah,
sorry to cut off your flow. Yeah,
that was the only flow we got. What do you want to show on this one here?
Yeah, just move it a little to your left.
That I cannot.
Okay, then zoom back just a pinch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there we go. So yeah, basically, I mean, I've seen bits and bobs of these from Instagram where you can now subscribe to channels as well as follow.
They also have a new thing about gifting. You can gift in Messenger or something.
Right.
Like you can allow gifts so people can. It's kind of like the PayPal option you can put on Spotify, where someone can like donate, I guess, so to speak.
Right. Okay. So again, Patreon, kind of again, going directly from the artist to the follower or to the fan, I suppose. So that's going to be a really interesting one. They'll probably roll it out over your end of the Atlantic before mine.
Yeah, probably. Unless
so
it's Spotify who rolls out things and then just takes it away.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently for you got that first.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I think it was a little bit of a test. I think it
Yeah.
was in part of my Wrapped thing and all that kind of thing.
Interesting,
So,
yeah.
yeah, but that's a cool one coming out of Instagram. I mean, it's quite obvious that they're just trying to push out YouTube in a way and go for platforms and stuff like that.
It just seems, and maybe it's always been, but it seems like right now, all of these social media sites are all just competing with each other. Like, they do this, so now we're introducing this. It's like nothing necessarily original, per se. Or one of them starts something that's original, but then they all just try to do the same rather than kind of altering it to fit their aesthetic.
Very much
It's
so.
interesting.
Yeah, so the race to the bottom is always on.
TikTokstagram book or whatever.
Exactly. So yeah, we have just had a ding dong from Hydrofighter, who is in the lobby. So should we move across to the round robin?
Yeah, unless anybody in the chat has anything they want to add about the social media stuff, but I think we should just move on over.
Get on through. For those unfamiliar, this is Hydrofighter is one of our patrons, very lovingly, and all our patrons get access to the Google Meet link in which we talk, and we invite them to come on, share their thoughts, see what they've been up to, that kind of thing. And so yeah, Hydrofighter has been a staple of that since the very first episode, and as we come on to a year, it's lovely to see him come back. He's been off for a couple of weeks, so yeah, let's bring him in. Oh, okay, everything's going haywire. Hello, how's it going?
Hey guys,
what's up, Steve? How's it going?
Can you see me?
We got you.
I can see you, I can hear you.
Cool.
Wonderful. Haven't seen you for a while. How you been?
I've been pretty good. I can't complain too much. So yeah, I haven't been on the show for a while. I haven't seen Eon in a while either. So a little disappointed he's not here, but good to see him in the chat.
He's been having his tech issues, so blame his internet service provider.
And he's a techie too.
Give your disappointment to his internet service provider. Yeah, he was even saying, he was like, he knows it's not on his end, so it makes it even worse. I mean, Eon, like, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but that's what you were saying.
all of his synthesizers and modular stuff isn't taking too much of a load off.
Yeah, it's not this time. Not like that one ADSN where he's like, let me just turn the modular on, and then everything just died.
So very much so. So how's your fight? What have you been doing? What's been going on? You were last.
Ironically, I'm doing the same thing as Eon. I'm building a parent template. I'm just going to be able to mix and match instruments as I see fit. So that's what I've been up to.
Nice. Very cool.
That's what you need. That's what you need. It's always nice to see. For this particular round robin, we are chatting about setups, live setups.
Yeah, just really quick. Eon like says he's even more disappointed than you are. So
I'm gonna cry.
he may be crying if he's more disappointed. You know.
Don't watch, man.
So let's talk round robin. What is the round robin for those new, Curtis?
So for those new, the round robin is where we bring something to the table, be it about production, be it about something existential or philosophical in the production world, or something completely different, but something to do with our production game and being producers. And we bring it and we talk about it. We share our ideas and kind of in the name of getting that information out so we can kind of have a talk about it. And that's what it is, essentially, in a very rambly way. So I'm not good at explaining this week.
You got to write it down or something to read it.
Yeah, very much so.
Really quick, though, before we move fully into the round robin, I do want to say, I don't know if anybody has heard, there's a bit of controversy with Meta, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, about their new $12, I believe, verification. We will talk about that next week. I didn't have much time to look into it, and I want to make an informed discussion about it. So just if anybody's curious, since we were talking about other Meta things, we'll be talking about that next week.
Very much so. I mean, it's even news to me, so it's a good one.
I told you right before we went live.
Yeah. But as in that is news to me. I mean, that is news
I think it's somewhat widespread because it's both Mark Zuckerberg talked about it, and then Adam Mosseri talked about it, and then all these like Instagram, influencers and stuff are talking. There's a lot of talk about it, let's say, but I just want to read more about what it is, what it offers. I mean, I never like monetization of these things, but I just want us to have more of an informed discussion about it. But yeah, it is something if anybody is curious, and we'll talk about it next week.
I like the way you said he spoke about it, Mark Zuckerberg. That's a very nice way of saying teased between his forked tongue.
However you want to put it, I think he wrote it. I don't know if he even said it, so who knows.
We'll see. But yes, anyway, this week's round robin. Very simply, I obviously wrote this a while ago and didn't come back to it. The explanations of our live setups. Eon Lake, Sunwarper, myself, and to a degree, Hydrofighter. We've all been looking at playing live and setting up live streaming, basically taking the electronic game, which has been traditionally in darkened rooms at 3 o'clock in the morning, to the live world around people and bringing people to seeing what we do. And we all have a different way of doing it. So I just wanted to share some ideas so anyone thinking about trying to do the same thing might know where they can kick off in respect to theirs. Asef Stripe, one of our patrons, put a lovely live set in our Discord earlier this week. And it's a completely different live set to any of us, and I didn't think it was possible until he spoke about it on the Discord.
And we talked with him about this on our last Star stream, which is our patron hangout. It was really cool. It kind of was the genesis of this idea for the round robin, where we all kind of talked about our live setups. And I also, as Curtis and I have both done it recently, want to talk kind of live stream setup versus the live set.
So the live stream setup then. So which one of you gentlemen would like to go first? Hydrofighter?
No, Sunwarper can go first. I'm going to piggyback off him this time.
No problem. Yeah, so I can, hopefully, my microphone might be in the way a little bit, but this is my live stream setup, MIDI mountain. I am running the circuit. MIDI out of the circuit goes into the Behringer MS1, and I don't know if you can see it, but the Dreadbox Erebus. And then I have the Prophet to perform. I send the Prophet and the circuit into my Focusrite, and then the Focusrite goes through Logic with Loopback, which I'll talk about in a second, into Streamlabs OBS. So everything is going live from Streamlabs OBS, and the way, at least from what I know about Apple, the way you can get audio from one program to talk to another is with this program called Loopback, and it just kind of houses all the audio and sends it out. Someone could probably explain that better than me. I'm just a musician, but I know that's how you do it. And that's how it works for me. You can check out my live stream on my YouTube if you want to see. So that's kind of the setup. And then I wasn't able to get a picture of and I can't share my screen, but when I do Streamlabs, I have several scenes. So basically I have a start scene that's just like a little Sunwarper logo, or for Audionautic, it's just the starting soon screen with music. And then I go to something on my channel that has the music playing, saying starting soon or whatever. And then I cut to the last scene, or the third scene actually, which is the main scene, as I call it. And then I have all my different sources. So the window capture, the camera capture, if I'm doing camera versus something on the screen, and then all the music and things like that. I have my microphone set up. So that's kind of my setup. And then you can just kind of go between things. For Audionautic, I think we'll do a full thing breaking down how we live stream Audionautic, but there's a lot more to it because we have video segments as another scene that we do where we turn on videos and things like that. But that's basically the setup. If anybody has any questions, either in our call or in the chat, just let me know. But that's my setup. It worked really well. The only thing, like I said, was I didn't balance the microphone level with the loopback level when I was going live, and so the loopback sound from Logic was a lot louder, but it's okay.
That's okay. That's quite a chain, as they say.
Yeah.
just disappointed that Marshall behind you isn't just pumping volume out.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd go deaf if I did that. I think I mentioned it in a Star Stream, but I'm actually thinking of selling those. So if anybody's interested in either a Marshall, I think it's a JCM 2000 or a Mesa Boogie dual recto, let me know, because I can't play them in here. It's too small to hear the click. I mean, I can jam on them, but I can't actually like record with them, so it's kind of a bummer. But yeah.
Isn't it supposed to be rock and roll, man?
Yeah,
It's gotta be. It's
turn it
gotta
up
be
to
loud.
11, bro.
I don't want tinnitus. I'm a mastering engineer, so I don't need more tinnitus and to go deaf.
That's what you've got visual spectrums for, though. Who needs ears when you can see
No.
waves?
Mr. No Reference Tracks, you shouldn't even be talking.
Yeah, it sounds it's interesting.
I do want to say though, like my live setup for performing is completely different. It's way more simple. It's literally like either just the SP, which is what I'll be doing next week for a live show on YouTube, or I'll do like the SP and the circuit, because the sampler, the SP404, can house long form playback or individual stems, and then the circuit I can perform things on. And even on the SP, it's got chromatic mode, so I can put like a single note and just jam on it. So very different setups. But yeah.
Okay. I suppose that comes down to whether or not how much gear you want to lug around.
Exactly. Portability is key for me if I'm playing somewhere. So just taking like an SP or an SP and a Volca or something, nice and easy.
I saw 59 Perlin, he's got a new live setup where he's triggering everything on a launch control.
Yeah.
And he's got the expressive E, that thing where you push down.
Yeah, those things are cool. I think we talked about that in an episode a long time ago.
I believe we did, yeah. So yeah, Hydra Fighter. Have you got anything to add to yours, piggybacking?
Mine's totally different though. I mean, I'm all set up with MIDI controllers, and I haven't done any streaming yet, but it's coming. It's in the pipeline, and my setup for streaming would be the same as what I would do in a live situation, which is basically going to be the key step, managing any harmonic loops or pitches, and using the beat step to do any rhythmic patterns, and then using the APC 40 to control volumes and control effects, control real-time parameters on some of the soft synths. Really portable. I mean, three pieces of hardware plugged into the mothership, and take it anywhere. I mean, I could literally walk with all of that gear somehow in bags.
Yeah. That's key for live performance. Are you also going to be live streaming too with that setup? Like,
I don't know so much if I'll do live streaming or just pre-record it and then publish it. But I think that's yet to be determined. I'm just getting to that point where I'm experimenting more with the hardware and how I want to develop the songs. The idea of what I want to do is not have anything pre-recorded or pre-sequenced. I'll have the sounds kind of designed, but really the beat step and the key step are going to control all the sequencing or harmonic loops.
So it's semi-improvisational. Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, I think what it'll be was at least initially will be rehearsed and then performed. And ideally, I want to get to a full-blown improvisational setup. Improvised setup, yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a great way of doing it. A great way of blending that notion of
Shady is throwing some shade at you. He says, So Mobile will be gigging at our local McDonald's. And FCC also said, I'm interested in this, trying to work out how to do more live setups. FCC, I think you're using Reason, right? I did a live show using Reason where I would just have some pre-recorded MIDI, not pre-recorded, some set MIDI for like a full 20-minute set, right? And I would just send that to synths, and then I had a backing track, and I'd perform as well. There's a lot you can do even in Reason if you just do like a long set or something like that. But if you have any questions, let us know in the chat. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, and I think my goal is going to be to do an album like this, though. I mean, what we see a lot of is people releasing their music, and then they get a gig that pops up and they think, wait, how am I going to configure this? How am I going to do this live? There's a million different ways you can do it. What's the most real way to do it? The audience probably can't tell from you pushing buttons that something's real or not. I mean, I'm not going to Tiesto this thing and hit one button and just pump my arms, right?
Oh, I would have showed up to a McDonald's for that. That's the one thing to get me to go to a McDonald's. Hydro Fighter doing a Tiesto and going like that.
Well, I'm assuming that Shady's my agent on all this stuff, and I'm getting the vibe that it's going to be free cheeseburgers for a year.
Oof.
Oh,
Right? Although that could potentially add some fat around the face and around the belly.
not if you're doing this though. That burns a lot of calories. You know, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe put like a weight on your wrist and just, you know, you're burning tons of calories like that.
Good plan.
Over in the chat, FCC says, I need to work on portability. Not sure my old reel-to-reel tape looper is very portable. You could always get a looper like the, what is it, RC505, that Roland, or the SP, you know, I'm biased there. But a looper, even one of those looper pedals might be nice. He also says, yes, I think to him using Reason. And then he's thinking of that kind of thing, I think, with the setup I was talking about in Reason. Bendu is looking forward to the Improv Hydro Fighter album. Yeah. Curtis, what about you? What is your setup looking like?
Well, my live setup and my live stream setup are looking fairly similar. I think the only difference is the use of, or not taking the guitar. So I've got I've got all my gear. So as you can see here, I've got the Ultranova, I've got the Monologue. Over here, I've got a MIDI keyboard, which is a Nectar 49. I've got a bass plugged in, and I've got a guitar plugged in. They all go into my Rubik's 44, which then go into Ableton, and then I've got the Launch Control XL for the mix, the channeling the mixer, and right now I've got the APC Mini Mark 1. And I'm debating whether or not to upgrade that to the Mark II or get another Launch Control XL.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone has any thoughts or comments on that, that would be greatly appreciated, because I'm in a bit of a conundrum, because it's like one of those choose your Pokemon things.
You can't go wrong. Just choose one.
Well,
you can always do the trading thing with another Game Boy to get the other ones.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've got. And then when I'm live streaming, I am a Windows user. I'm not a Mac user, so I don't need loopback. But I have a plugin from Reaper called Restream, which goes on the master of in my case Ableton, which then goes into Streamlabs, and there's a bit of finicky stuff, but basically they talk to each other to get the sound coming in. No need for loopback or anything like that.
Yeah.
Then in my
I think
scenes,
that's a Mac problem.
It's a Mac thing. It's a Mac
needing
thing.
loopback
sure.
to have them communicate to each other.
Yeah. And then from that we've got I've got scenes, so I've got a transmission incoming, similar to one that we've got on the show. I've got the main studio, which is my DSLR DSLR USB into the laptop. Sorry, not into there. You don't know what I'm talking about. I've got a scene which puts me in the corner, and then you can see my Ableton. So what's actually I'm doing in Ableton itself. And then I've got a scene where I've just literally today I've just put it in a scene 2 where I've got an overhead with my webcam, so you can see what's going on over the top of here, because before for a long time it was just my back, which apparently is not very good for aesthetic. Personally, I love my back, but you know it's all about.
Might depend on the back. I don't know.
So yeah, it's all of that. And then when I go live, it's basically just these 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And instead of a lot of instruments, I've got a lot of MIDI instruments, which I'll play on the launch pad, because you can turn it into a synth and stuff like that and play around with that. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm calling the cockpit, because it could all be done sitting down in a comfy chair in my dressing gown. And that's the best way to do a live set. No. So yeah, that's my live setup.
Do you guys get nervous about having too much sometimes? Where, yeah, I mean, if your focus is you have too much to look at, I mean, are you afraid that you're going to make a mistake in a performance because you have too much to play with? I mean, I don't know if I asked that question very clearly, obviously, but
well, I mean, my Sunwarper live stream setup is a lot simpler than my Audionautic live stream setup, because I host both, right? So like I was saying, the one I have for Audionautic is super complicated, and it is kind of a lot because I have to control our mics and like mute them when we're switching between things and stuff like that. So that does sometimes get to be a lot, but I mean, with practice, it's become a lot better. And then with my personal like live performance stuff, I mean, I'm so used to this setup. Like, I don't view this as a lot, right? This is kind of like home for me because I've been using it for like a year or two, like, in different builds and things like that. It gets a little complicated. Like, I messed up with the mic audio, right? Like, I thought I had tested it, but then, I wasn't. When I was live streaming, my mic was a lot quieter than Logic. So when the song was playing and I was talking, is like you can't really hear what I'm saying. At least that's how I viewed it. But people were responding to me, so they obviously could hear it. So we're always our harshest critic, right? So I mean, I'm looking at this in an analytical lens from my own experience. But yeah, I get what you mean. It can be, but it's practice. And like we said at the start, one of the beauties of live streaming is everyone's there to see you do something live, right? So the mistakes and all, that's kind of the point of it. It's not this carefully curated presentation. It's you as you are creating music or, like in our case, discussing gear and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to simplify my template so whatever I do is consistent. So there's a lot of consistency from instrument to instrument to instrument to instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing. It's definitely something like the idea of moving from one piece to another. Like when I move from, say, the monologue, because it's also got a MIDI out, so it can act and play a MIDI VST. Mm-hmm. There's two. It's like switching between the two, and I'm like, crap, I'm playing audio. I should be playing MIDI, that kind of thing. But I also frame it a bit different. I don't know if anyone's ever tuned into or seen any of my live streams that I've been doing recently. It's very off the cuff, and it's kind of like hit record and see what plays. And there is wrong notes, and there are bits and bobs that don't go awry. And then I pick up the guitar and I go, you know what? I don't want guitar. I want this. And then there's lots of editing, I think, and it's more about the process as opposed to like performing. I think I'll get to the stage when I'm performing. I know the gear in and out, but right now, just like, I'm gonna have a cup of tea and see what kind of comes out. So yeah, wrong notes and getting stuff wrong. I love it. It's great.
It's jazz, man.
It's jazz.
There's no wrong notes. It's improv.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's me. Anything else to add, gentlemen?
I just want to give one little marketing minute tip that I had discovered, and I told Curtis because we were having issues when we would finish the live stream for Audionautic. I would edit out the long intro, right? And then it would make a new video without the chat, without any likes or comments, and without any of the views. And I could never figure out what it was. It was always like weird. So we just stopped doing that. So what I figured out was you have to wait until the video has finished processing. Like any live stream you do on YouTube, it has to process. And you can find that out by when you go to the analytics or the YouTube studio and you go to that video, you'll see an option to do an end screen and ID cards. And if those are grayed out, it'll say video is still processing. That's when don't make any trimmings to the video. Once you can do that, you can trim out intros and outros and things like that, and it will stay as the same video. So if anybody's doing live streams on YouTube, it's a really good way to know so that you can cut out those long intros, because on Watchback, a lot of people don't want to see that, or they don't want to try to find the part or hit a timestamp, so you can just cut it right out, but you have to wait until it's processed.
That's what would include the chat when you publish it out again for replay?
Yeah, so what would happen if you do it before it's finished processing, it'll just have like an empty chat in this new version. Whereas if you wait until it's processed and you edit, you won't, because what happens is when you're doing the edit, if it's not processed, it'll say save and create new, like where the save button is on the trim. When the video is finished processing and you go to that, it just says save. So that's how you'll know. It also pops up with a warning that will say this is going to create a new one or something like that. But yeah, so just wait until it's processed, and like I said, you'll know if the end screen option is there for the video. It's processed.
Thank you for that. Yeah. What are your live setups? People watching in the chat or listening back, how are you doing it? What are you getting through? Everyone has a different setup, and each one is just as valid and lovely, and everything can be learned from it. So let us know if you feel like sharing. drop us a comment or let us know down the line.
Yeah, and we're about to finish, so you're welcome to hop over to our Discord and let us know.
Speaking of which, next week will be our 50-second broadcast, which we would have been doing this for a whole year. I think we've only missed one. I believe we've only missed one in that time. I could be wrong. But anyway, not the point. My point is...
But it is a year of live streams, because the
Exactly,
52 means we did 52, a year's worth of ADSN, so...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it is great. This is a cool little thing for us. And we're very happy. And this community that we're building, the people watching, still watching, you are the heart of this community. You're here all the way through, you know. And the idea that we want to kind of see that, and we want to breathe that. So if you would go over to our Discord in the ADSN channel, let us know what it means to be an Audionaut. Like, what have you taken? If there's anything you've taken away from what we've been doing over the last year, what is that? We'd like to know. We're going to have a little segment next week talking about the community and the community that's growing, and that involves community. We had a lovely video from our patron, ASF Stripe, earlier today, which was lovely. Let us know. It's just a couple of words here and there. We'll read it out. We'd really like to hear from you.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and it means the world to have you all with us. That's like part of it. Together we grow. It's just the journey that we're on. It's so much fun to talk about all these things, and especially with our patrons who help support us and what we do with this, but also just with those talks we do on Starstream and in the patron chats on Twitter and Discord. It's great. And if you want to join our Discord, the link is in the description, near the bottom of the description. I'm just looking right above our playlist, which latest and greatest of independent, chill IDM electronic music. So if you want to check out some new tunes, head over to it. It's going to get a big update on Friday.
Well, there we
Wink,
go.
wink.
There we go. Excellent. That's the final word. Any final words, Hydrofighter, before we go off air for today?
No, I think you guys have it covered, because usually Eon says thanks to everybody in the chat.
He's so good at that. He's so good at that. It's been lovely to see you again, Hydrofighter. It's been a minute.
It's good to see you guys. Good to be on.
Yeah. It's nice to have you here. And everyone else watching back home, thank you ever so much. We love you. We'll see you next week, and we'll all have little party hats on. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.